Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Honest Mom, and this is my quarterly update on my minimalism game and what my house looks like. So this is me showing you very embarrassing stuff about my house, and whether or not you think it's embarrassing, to me it is. So in the comment section, could you please be kind? I'm aware that I'm disorganized and that I have clutter in boxes, and I'm actually hyper aware. If you haven't seen my video on my homeschooling update, I kind of cover all of the things I'm going through, so I'll put it in the description box below, the link to the video explaining other stuff in my life that's kind of caused me to not focus all of my attention on cleaning my house. So if you could just be gentle, that would be greatly appreciated. We're gonna start in my kitchen. And actually, it isn't near as bad as it was a couple weeks ago because we finally, this is March, we finally put our Christmas decor in our shed because I wanted to go through it and declutter it before we put it in there. So yes, in March, we finally put away our Christmas boxes, but I downsized from 5 Christmas boxes to 3, including my wrapping paper box. So here we have a table. And this is where my Christmas boxes were, but they are gone, so that's nice. Here is a box of family games that we took to a game night at a church for New Year's Eve, and we have yet to put them back. And we also have to decide which ones are staying and which ones are going. Here is a box of fabric that I have for a backdrop, and I had some random fabric left over from preparing for a wedding. This box is old cookbooks. I need to honestly get rid of a lot of them, but I will also say that being newly vegan, I need to figure out if any of those cookbooks will apply to our current lifestyle. And just a couple reusable bags out of their place. We have our garbage cans here, and we have a calendar here. I'm having a hard time keeping up with it, but this is how we let the boys know what's happening every day, and we'll rotate it out. Up here, if you can believe it, it used to be a lot worse. We have some water bottles, which our contractor left here, fertilizer sticks for my houseplants, battery charger stuff for some trucks my kids got for Christmas, and this is a chart for my son's Sparky take-home work. Here is our debt payoff thermometer. This is what we're working toward. My friend is getting married, holiday pictures, random cluttery type stuff. A couple of toys that are new in their box, and I'm trying to decide if we're going to keep them or if I have someone I can gift them to. Cooking oil, alcohol, vinegar. Up here, this cabinet we keep mostly empty because I can't use it. So, yeah.
And I don't put things away.
Here is my savory spices, and here is more of my like cinnamon and I don't know, sweeter spices. And then up there is backup spices, like bulk spices and things that I accidentally bought extra of. I'm trying to be better now that we're using our own stuff at bulk stores. I'm trying to be better at organizing, but when I'm cooking, sometimes I just get in a rush. Here is our utensil drawer, which I'm actually quite impressed. At one point in our marriage, we had probably 4 of these at one time. We still have 2 corkscrews, but I justified this because it's easier to open with this, and this is a wine bottle saver type thing. We also at one point had 4 or 5 whisks for whatever. Down here we have balsamic vinegar and a huge bag of white rice. We bought it in bulk. I think it's 50 pounds we got for like 12 bucks. Down here is the lids to our cooking things. Here is my food, and again, this is kind of a disorganized mess. Switching from our diet to vegan diet has been very strange. There are some things in here that are not vegan. I had them from previously, and we're using a lot more bulk things. I'm trying to come up with an organization system that helps me know where things are, but I'm still so new to it. Part of the issue is I buy something for a recipe or whatever, and then I don't end up liking it, but I feel like I need to use it. Up here is my fancy china set, which I love. I'm worried about breaking them, and it's silly. I should probably just use them. In here, I have a few vases, a pie plate, which actually doesn't belong up here, a serving platter that's not mine, I need to return to my friend, and then this is our additional silverware for when we have guests, because I don't want to use plastic, so I have actual silverware when I have people to my house. A pitcher and one of these. At one point we probably would have been able to return it for a deposit, but I thought it was a great idea to paint it and use it to save money, which is silly, but I did. This is our pears. We eat a lot of fruit. This is where we keep our bananas, and most of these are about ready to get frozen. I need to do that. More cookbooks. This one's new, and I know that we can eat out of it, but like my smoothies. I think most of the recipes I can make vegan, but I don't actually know. I need to go through that. And then cookies and Christmas book. Paper napkins, which we don't actually use unless we're going camping or picnicking or something. So I think we bought that probably 2 years ago, and we're still working through it because at home we use rags. Random junk food stuff to keep out of the kids' reach, and a paper towel roll. Have not yet decided if I'm going to be keeping paper towels in the house. So here we have black beans. I buy them in bulk, and I'll actually take this whole container to get beans. I make homemade bread here in this thing. I will link that video of the kind of bread that I make in the description box below, but I needed a container that had a lid that partially sealed and that was big enough, and I didn't have one. And this one was just an extra. I don't yet have a use for it, but I think I'm gonna use it for chickpeas. And then this is sugar, and I know it's kind of misplaced as far as my cabinets, but this is the tallest place for it. We keep our onions and potatoes here. Garlic on the countertops is mostly produce. Here I had gotten, I think it was a 25-pound bag of pears, and tray by tray freezing them. It's gonna take probably a couple days, so I'm using ice to keep them from turning. These were the pears from the bag that were just scarred and not actually damaged in any way, so we were snacking on them. And then more bananas that are about ready to freeze. Some produce that either didn't fit where the rest of it is, and I know that needs to go. We need to stop buying cantaloupe, they're not ready yet. In here we have a really disorganized empty box. A really disorganized thing of, like, I have wax seals and some plastic because I'm still learning how to do things like freeze fruits, cook without using these, but it's hard too because I already bought it, and I don't want to just throw it away because that seems really wasteful, but I also have a hard time using it. So I hit this like conflict where I have this, and so I use this instead of cling wrap, but then I have cling wrap, and for some reason I have a lot of cling wrap, and then like aluminum foil. I have tons of aluminum foil, but I prefer to use parchment paper. So I've been slowly and surely using them, but it is. And this is where I keep my nut milk bag where I make nut milk. This is another kind of messy utensil area. I've gone through here quite a bit. Actually, it may not look like it, but it's kind of Mod Podgey mess. But most of it is stuff we use now, whereas before it wasn't. I just need to get better organized. Down here is my KitchenAid attachments, and these come really in handy for making salads and things. So I just keep them here so they're accessible. This has gone through a huge transformation. I got this from a couple Thanksgivings ago and never used it. This is where I keep my small appliances and my bakeware, which is actually where my pipeline hangs. Down here is where I keep my pots and big pots, saucepans, saute pans. Anything that goes on the burners goes right here. And anything that goes in the oven, I don't know if my husband knew that before this recording.
Now I know.
And here is where we keep our toothbrushes and toothpaste when the kids and I are good about putting them back where they belong. We don't actually have a medicine cabinet in our bathroom, and I feel weird about keeping toothbrushes out on the counter, so we keep them here. Down here is where we keep our steel cut oats and our crock pot, because every night we cook steel cut oats in a crock pot and then we add fruits and stuff to it in the morning, and I get my oats in bulk. Here's where I keep my towels. They're a little disorganized now because Will was really nice and put them away for me, but they're not how I would normally organize them.
Hashtag Will for the win.
Yeah, so we keep we use these instead of sponges because we can wash them. And I know they're microfiber and there's problems with that as well, but these are what work for me, and I just wash them on hot. I wash all my rags on hot, and that way they stay nice longer and they don't get a smell. I've also heard that you can microwave rags if they start to smell. This drawer has gone through a huge transformation. It was overflowing before we started. Down here is kind of a mess. This is my cakes drawer. I have a hobby of making cakes. I haven't done it in a while, but I love doing it. I have a cake turner, cake plate, another like cupcake tiered situation, all the stuff you need for cupcakes and cakes. And that's one of the things that in this declutter, I haven't felt like I have time to do. And so it's hard for me to go through and declutter that stuff because I hope to do that again, but the declutter is taking so much time. I have a basil plant, and like right now we're growing some beans for my kids' school. And I keep some produce up in the window to keep them fresh with some water. This area is usually a mess, and it looks messy now. It's usually a lot more messy. Down here, we keep paper bags, plastic bags, and anything, and we use them all. We don't buy garbage bags. The only kind of bags that we buy are compost bags for our compost bin. And this has gone through a huge transformation as well because we're getting much more label conscious, which we've held on to some, even though we know like Miss Myers has fragrance in it and we're avoiding all products with fragrance, but it feels really wasteful to throw away, so we're conflicted, but for the most part, we've decluttered this area. Our dishwasher, we stopped using as a dishwasher and only use as a drying rack now. So there's almost always dishes in here. We try to be good about cycling them through, but it is. Our silverware drawer, I try to keep just enough silverware for everyone to have one of each every day. Except my straws. My straws are an issue, and I foresee me decluttering some. But also like random spoons and forks that are not part of my set but end up in my house for whatever reason. This is where our reusable bags go. Whether or not they get here is another thing. And we keep our son's cups, which I'm trying to transition them into glassware, but it's hard to do that all the time. Lids, and these are for when we go berry picking. This also is for when we go berry picking, and Tupperware, for the most part, belongs in here, but I don't think I've ever communicated that, and so it gets put everywhere. So we have Tupperware everywhere.
Knowing's half the battle.
Did you know that I put Tupperware here?
Nope, but I do now.
This is where Tupperware is supposed to go, and we have one. And we have a lot more than that in Tupperware.
I feel like we should have done this a year ago so I know where stuff goes.
Up here is my son's pet fish. This is one that we can actually turn in, but I have to figure out which store we got it from. This is when we were drinking milk, and I just never turned it in. But you could turn it in for like a $2 refund. This is a miscellaneous catch-all, and it's usually cluttered. But this pile specifically is our DVDs that we decluttered in the declutter and CDs, but I can't find a responsible way to get rid of them. If you have any ideas, please leave them in the comment section below. But a lot of them are perfectly fine movies. They're not even, well, that one's scratched, but a lot of them are pretty good. How do I offer them to someone that wants to cut them up and use them as art? How do I give them to someone that wants to use the DVDs? Some of them are not appropriate to give to kids, so I wouldn't feel comfortable giving them away on the internet, but anyway, not porn, just rated R or unrated because we didn't care about that. Cupboard is where we keep our mason jars, which have become a huge part of our daily life, buying bulk. So I keep them here with the lids. Sometimes we even use them as cups for the kids. This is what I'm trying to transition them into, but of course they spill much easier, so I have to be careful of that. Our plates and then our bowls go here. Back here we have small spice things for when we get spices in bulk. Our glassware, which used to be this whole area. This used to be all just stemware and glassware, but we recently downsized quite a bit, and to be honest, I think these are gonna go somewhat soon because we've been using our mason jars, and since we already have to have our mason jars, it just makes more sense for me. This is where we keep our supplements and random things. I can't even explain all of what's up there. Medicine for the kids or painkillers or fever, whatever. So here is our espresso area, and funny story, this just broke.
Yesterday.
Yesterday. We've had it for 3 years and it hit the crapper, but now that we're in the low buy, we're having a really hard time because we use it every day. We have a coffee machine, and we have to figure out whether or not we're going to be sticking with brewed coffee or espresso. It's a conflicting problem. Will's gonna try and fix it, but I don't think it's a fixable problem. I think it's just dead. We have Kleenexes. This is our coffee. We buy our coffee bulk. We haven't found a brand that both of us are 100% happy with, but we're working on it. Will found a really good brand that has like a negative carbon footprint, but I don't really appreciate it because they use a plastic bag. And I understand they do that for freshness, but I have a hard time with that. But it comes in a large, 20-pound bag?
The bag of beans was a 5-pound bag of beans, but the way that it's farmed, produced, packaged, and shipped, it's a $25 carbon negative impact.
Right, yeah.
A 25-pound carbon negative impact.
I just wish they would find a way to do it without plastic. We're still working through this syrup. I really like lavender, but it's not the same at home. And that's probably because I don't use as much sugar as I do. In here is our junk drawer. I'm not gonna explain all of it, actually any of it. This is just where things go to die. Down here is where we keep our coffee grinder because we buy beans, our random teas that we've accumulated, so we've actually not allowed ourselves to buy more tea until we've worked through our tea. And hot cocoa, that's a tea set I got while I lived in Okinawa, Japan, and I can't part with it yet, but I probably will end up parting with it. And then these are our mugs. And check this beauty out. My mother-in-law gave this to me when I was pregnant with my first child. Isn't that cute? It's a little weird. It's got a bit.
You've used that recently.
Yes. Now I'm just gonna get the most embarrassing rooms out of the way. Just do it.